You ever feel like you're doing everything your soul told you to do? Trusting the divine, letting go of what doesn't serve you, following that inner guidance, and life still feels like it is falling apart. And then here comes the voices. Maybe you messed up. Maybe you made the wrong choice. Maybe God ain't with you after all. But what if your breakdown isn't a mistake? What if it's divine? What if losing everything was the only way to finally find you? Hey everyone, welcome back to the Powerfully You podcast. I'm Sharitha, and I help good hearted, spiritually curious people heal from trauma, stop people pleasing, and turn their pain into power. And if you click play on this episode, chances are you've been feeling the shame of the way your relationship with the divine shows up in your life. And I will be the first to say, and that's okay. Not because you don't love God, not because you aren't spiritual, but because your path doesn't look the way people told you it's supposed to look. They said, if you're faithful, you'll be stable. They said, if you trust the divine, life will go up. You'll get the job, the money, the peace, the favor. But nobody warned you what would happen when you listened to God and then your whole world fell apart. If this episode cracks something open in you, if it gives you permission to just be real about your journey, take a second and share it with someone else who's struggling to feel worthy while walking a path nobody understands. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, or just sit with it and breathe. So let's talk about it. Let's think about the real spiritual walk, the one that doesn't look like religion, the one that gets judged, misunderstood, humbling as hell, humbling as hell, and still sacred as fuck. When your faith don't look like their religion, maybe you've been scared to say it out loud, that your relationship with the divine doesn't fit in the box they gave you. You don't talk to God in church language. You might curse sometimes. You talk to your spiritual guides. You listen to your intuition. You sat with your shadow. You've walked away from people. You've lost things, jobs, home, cars, and you still chose to trust God. And people looked at you like you have lost your damn mind. They told you if you're struggling, you must be cursed. If you're broke, something must be wrong with you. If you're hurt, maybe you've fallen out of alignment. But what they don't realize is that your struggle is your obedience. You let go of that job because spirit told you to. You sat still because your soul asked you to. You lost what looked good so that you could hold on to what's real. That don't make you a failure. That makes you faithful. You might still hear in your head, but what if I made the wrong choice? Maybe I should have kept that job. Maybe this was just irresponsibility in disguise. I'm here to tell you it is not. You didn't choose chaos, you chose calling. And calling doesn't come wrapped in comfort, it comes in discomfort the whole time. It comes with questions, with fear, with pain. But if you're still here, still listening, still healing, still trusting, then you ain't lost. You're becoming. The shame of obeying spirit. If you're honest, maybe you felt it too. Shame for quitting that job because God told you. Shame for not having a backup plan. Shame for letting the car break down. Shame for being evicted. Shame for following the divine and looking like a fool to the people watching because they think God only shows up in blessings. But what you found out is that God shows up even more in the breaking. The world says, look successful to prove your worth. Religion says, if you're struggling, you're out of God's will. But Spirit says, I have never left you, even when it looks like everything else did. What if everything you were taught was wrong? What if being still is preparation? Even when it feels like your solar plexus is tight and your chest is filled, with anxiety? What if what if the uncomfortable stillness isn't a failure? It's the refining fire. What if being unprepared in their eyes is actually you being in perfect alignment? What if the shame you have been carrying isn't yours, but a projection of society's fear? They taught you that struggle is a sign of spiritual disconnection, but you found out struggle is where the spirit meets you face to face. Nobody's going to understand your journey, and that's okay. And maybe that's what's been hurting the most. You keep wishing somebody else was walking the path with you so you could feel seen, so you could feel sane, so you could feel like you're not the only one. But love, this is a rare journey. You weren't called to be understood, you were called to be obedient. People can't validate what they have never lived. They want your life to look like theirs before they respect it. But your life isn't supposed to look like anyone else's because your walk with the divine is personal, powerful, and uniquely yours. You don't have to look holy to be sacred. You don't have to sound perfect to be anointed. You don't have to be understood to be protected. Reflective moments. So I want to ask you real gently, what version of you are you still hiding? Who told you that your obedience needed to be polished? What shame are you carrying that was never yours to begin with? And what would it feel like to stop trying to be understood just to feel free? Free to trust what you hear, free to rest when you're called to, free to let your journey be messy, real, and divinely guided. You ain't crazy. You're called. You're not falling behind. You're being refined. You're not broken. You're being rebuilt. The divine didn't abandon you. You just stopped performing and started listening. So if you're ashamed of your journey, your faith, your truth, take this as your permission slip. Your spiritual walk doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. It just has to be real to you. And remember, you don't owe the world a perfect testimony, but you do owe yourself your truth. Until next time, stay powerfully you.